In July 2024, tributes poured in for Shelley Duvall, the actress forever haunted by her role in The Shining. Obituaries called it her defining performance, but after her death, hidden details about Stanley Kubrick's torment on set reignited a firestorm online. Why did her experience leave scars so deep, and what did she really endure behind closed doors? The truth changes everything you thought you knew. Shelley Duvall's rise in the film world began far from the haunted halls of the Overlook Hotel. In the early 1970s, she was working in Houston when a crew member from Robert Altman's production team spotted her. Altman cast her in Brewster McCloud, launching a partnership that would define her early career. Over the next decade, Duvall became his muse, delivering memorable performances in Nashville and Three Women. Her portrayal in Three Women earned her the Best Actress Award at the Cannes Film Festival, cementing her reputation for offbeat, emotionally layered characters. Stanley Kubrick, searching for his Wendy Torrance, saw something in Duvall that most directors overlooked. Stephen King's novel imagined Wendy as strong and resourceful, but Kubrick wanted vulnerability, a sense of real, raw fear. Duvall's unique blend of fragility and inner strength made her the unexpected choice. She was not Hollywood's typical leading lady, but her presence on screen was impossible to ignore. Kubrick believed she could embody the terror and the desperation at the heart of his vision for The Shining. This casting decision would shape not only Duvall's career, but the public's memory of her. Taking on Wendy meant stepping into a role that would demand everything, emotionally, physically, and psychologically. For Duvall, the part promised both artistic challenge and a test of endurance, setting the stage for the relentless months that followed. Production on The Shining began in 1978 at EMI Elstree Studios, just north of London. Instead of filming on location, Stanley Kubrick insisted on building massive, interconnected sets, replicas of the Overlook Hotel's endless hallways, cavernous lobby, and snow-covered maze. The studio became a sealed environment where cast and crew spent nearly a full year, cut off from the outside world. This was not typical for a Hollywood movie. The budget ballooned to about $19 million, a huge sum for the time, driven by Kubrick's need for control over every detail. Lighting rigs ran day and night. Snow machines and refrigeration units created a winter no matter the season outside. Schedules stretched far beyond the norm. Principal photography lasted close to 12 months, with some actors, including Shelley Duvall, on set for more than 120 days. Overtime became routine. Meals and breaks were dictated by Kubrick's changing whims, not by the clock. The pressure to deliver perfection, combined with the monotony of the closed set, wore down even the most seasoned professionals. Despite its grueling pace, the film's box office return was modest at first, grossing around $48 million worldwide. Over time, though, The Shining's reputation and its financial legacy grew. But for those inside Elstree's walls, the real story was the daily grind, a relentless, high-stress routine that would test everyone, especially Shelley Duvall, in ways few could have predicted. Stanley Kubrick's approach to directing Shelley Duvall on The Shining set has become a case study in extreme filmmaking. According to multiple crew accounts and behind-the-scenes footage, Kubrick issued a direct instruction to those working closest with Duvall: do not offer her comfort or reassurance. The intention was to keep her emotionally isolated, mirroring the vulnerability he wanted from Wendy Torrance on screen. This was a deliberate tactic captured in footage by his daughter Vivian Kubrick. In that footage, he told crew not to sympathize with Shelley. Kubrick's perfectionism extended to every aspect of production. Scenes were repeated over and over, sometimes for dozens of takes, with no clear endpoint until he was satisfied. This relentless pursuit of a particular emotional truth set a new standard for what actors might endure in the name of art. The making of footage documents moments where Duvall, visibly shaken, received direction while exhausted, with Kubrick pressing her to repeat performances without pause. Crew members later described the atmosphere as tense, with little room for error or relief. These methods, captured on film and corroborated by those present, laid the groundwork for the psychological and physical toll that would soon become impossible to ignore. The baseball bat staircase scene became the defining ordeal of Shelley Duvall's experience on The Shining. For weeks, she faced Stanley Kubrick's demand for relentless repetition. Accounts from the set put the number of takes somewhere between 50 and well over 100, with the figure of 127 circulating in film lore. Each time Duvall climbed the stairs, she swung the bat at Jack Nicholson, her voice raw from screaming and her hands trembling from exhaustion. Crew members watched as her physical state deteriorated, her throat growing hoarse, her eyes rimmed red from tears, and her body visibly dehydrated. Behind-the-scenes footage shows her slumped against a wall, clutching a water bottle, barely able to stand between takes. Medical staff were called in at least once when she nearly fainted from the strain. The air inside the studio grew thick with tension as the days dragged on, and Duvall's distress became impossible to ignore. The toll of these endless retakes etched itself into her face, capturing a real terror that would live on in the finished film. Shelley Duvall spoke openly about the toll The Shining took on her. In interviews, she described the filming as almost unbearable, recalling days when she cried for up to 12 hours, 5 to 6 days a week. The pressure and relentless emotional demands left her physically depleted. She later said her hair began to fall out from stress, a visible sign of the strain she endured. Despite the exhaustion and anxiety, she insisted she would not trade the experience for anything. She called working with Stanley Kubrick a fascinating learning experience, saying it made her smarter and deepened her craft. In some interviews, she described Kubrick as warm and friendly, though she never downplayed the pain of the process. This paradox, suffering and pride intertwined, sits at the heart of her story, and it invites questions about the cost of great art and the resilience of those who create it. After her last major film roles in the early 2000s, Shelley Duvall quietly stepped away from Hollywood, settling in rural Texas and living far from the spotlight. That privacy was shattered in 2016 when she appeared on The Dr. Phil Show. The episode aired on November 18, 2016. It showed Duvall in a vulnerable mental state, and it was met with swift backlash. Mental health advocates, fellow actors, and viewers accused the show of exploiting her struggles for entertainment. The controversy grew online, with thousands calling for more ethical treatment of public figures facing health challenges. Dr. Phil later expressed regret for how the interview was handled. In 2021, The Hollywood Reporter published a long-form profile of Duvall at home in Blanco, Texas. The piece offered a more compassionate view, describing her sharp memory and storytelling, and it helped reframe her public image as an independent, creative artist rather than a cautionary tale. In 2025, Shelley Duvall's Hill Country Ranch became the site of a widely covered estate sale, drawing collectors and longtime fans eager for a tangible connection to her story. Items ranged from personal letters and costumes to annotated scripts from her most famous roles. The centerpiece was her marked-up copy of The Shining script, set to headline an auction on October 30th, with estimates climbing as high as $250,000. Auction houses reported record inquiries for her memorabilia, reflecting a new urgency to preserve pieces of her legacy. These sales were more than transactions. They became moments for fans and historians to reassess the value of her work, underscoring how deeply Duvall's career continues to resonate in the cultural imagination. Today, the debate over art and harm shapes every corner of the film industry. Shelley Duvall's ordeal forces us to ask what we are willing to accept for cinematic greatness. Her legacy is not just a cautionary tale, it is a call to protect those who bring our stories to life.